Compartments are basically areas of a ship that are defined for a particular functional purpose, such as an engine room or a pump room, a cargo compartment, tanks, so on and so forth. They're generally controlled by an arrangement drawing of the space to say what actually has to reside in that area of the ship to make it function.
What you can do with compartments you couldn't do with volumes is that you can take multiple volumes and create a single compartment from them in an organized fashion to describe a section of the vessel that is either rectangular or square, or that has some type of compound curvature. Stakeholders that are interested in compartments, such as an owner, because they can look at what equipment resides in the compartment, if it's supposed to be there, if it was supposed to be put somewhere else in a vessel for function. But as the vessel life continues, they can look at it to leverage the digital twin before going into shipyards for repair or overhaul, to cut down on time that they spend in the shipyard and get repairs done cheaper and faster.
One of the challenges for building the vessel is trying to get the right parts in the right place in the ship at the right time during various different build stages. So depending on how the project gets planned out, it should be able to provide good traceability at each stage of the build for when components that make up the functionality of the compartment went in the ship, and that they are there in the ship at these various different stages. It's not exactly easy to trace all this back as the ship progresses in both its design and its build. So it should be able to help them validate that the correct parts have been placed in the right compartment. In the future, we'll be expanding these things, and they'll be able to also be able to show what shouldn't be in the compartment as well. The compartments will also have a benefit to managing the project, because you'll be able to see what parts have gone into a particular compartment during, for example, the block build stage versus when they would do more general outfitting after blocks are built up in the ship. So depending on how they plan the project, they'll be able to see at various stages whether they've gotten certain equipment in the ship or not, or about to get it in there, and if they haven't got the equipment available, whether they can defer that equipment at a later stage, which may or may not be possible, but it would at least allow them to understand where they stand when these problems occur.
So at the end of the vessel's life, when the ship goes for recycling, there's a lot of times where the vessel's pulled into whatever yard to cut it apart, and they don't really know what's in the ship, so they have to conduct some extensive surveys. And so having a digital twin with the compartments defined would allow a breaking yard or a ship recycler to go through and pre-plan their cuts and pre-plan their removal of equipment or things that potentially are hazardous, so that it can be sequenced and done in a more efficient manner. Future use cases of compartments are kind of dependent on if you're looking at it from a shipyard perspective or from a designer perspective or an owner's perspective. There's a lot of different ways to use these predefined volumes, checking things such as, close up for painting, make sure that you're not going to be welding on one bulkhead and painting on the other one and burning up paint, and being able to use this to help schedule better. But really the possibilities for checking what's in and around a compartment and when things are complete are, to a point, there's no limit to what you can do with it as far as using the data to drive your process.
There would certainly be, I think, areas to use compartments in the future in ways that we haven't thought about yet. We touched slightly on it before, that we'll be building some smart capability compartments in the future, so you can see if parts or systems that are inside of a compartment shouldn't be in that compartment, for classification and SOLAS rules and things of that nature. But I'm sure as people start to use this feature, we'll come up with new and greater ways to use it.